Okay. Am I audible over the web? Over here? Yes. Okay. So today let us start into an area called as infra provisioning. Why is it required? Okay. And what are the different tools which we'll be covering throughout this? Okay. Okay. Fine. So in any organization, whenever they are trying to deploy any product, they will at least have these four environments. Okay. Let us assume I'm developing a Java application for e-commerce. Okay. I will not be directly uploading every code that developer writes directly onto the production environment. I need to test it before. Okay. So I would have at a bare minimum these four environments: dev, test, staging or pre-prod or UAT, whatever you call it. Okay. And then the production environment. So in many cases, the environments will be more than this, not less. In many cases, the environments will be more than this, not less. Now, how do you create these environments? That's the whole point which you are interested in right now. Okay. ఈ environments ని ఎలా create చేస్తారు? How do you create them? Okay. So there are two ways of looking at it. One is just see your application's requirement and manually create them. Yeah, I'll take one virtual machine, I'll install Linux in that, and I'll basically deploy whatever is required. That's one way of looking at it. The other way is, why can't I automate it so that it is easy for me? Whenever I want an environment, I'll be executing some sort of a script which would basically give me these environments, right? So that's the whole idea, or that's the context which we'll be discussing for most of these 2 weeks. For probably in the next 10 days, our focus will be only on this, creating this infrastructure, right? And one thing which we need to remember is our infrastructure is virtual, not physical. Our infrastructure is virtual, which means we'll not be working on physical machines, we'll be working on virtual machines. Let it be in the cloud or let it be the virtualization softwares or the hypervisors which you would have. That's the whole idea. Fine. So by the next 10 days, you should be able to do all of these activities on your own. That's the whole idea, right? Okay. So then I'll speak why is it important to DevOps. Why is it very much important to DevOps and all of that aspects. Fine. I'm not audible. Am I audible, guys? Can someone respond? Okay. Then it is problem with only one person. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. So let us discuss about how do we create this dev, test, or staging environment. I'll be showing you a sample, some sample applications architecture. What are the different needs and what is that we need in that? Okay. And let us discuss about some vague ideas of how to come to an approach which is automatable. Right. So automation saves what? Time. And automation will give you consistency. If it is wrong, it will be wrong in all environments. It will not be wrong in dev and good in prod, because we are going to use the same script 4 times. Okay. So it doesn't make sense for us to write individual scripts for one environment. So we'll be writing the same script and using it 4 times. So it is consistent. Whether it is wrong or right, our scripts are going should be consistent. All right. Okay. So let us assume that this is going to be our environment. Okay. So just change the technologies. That doesn't matter. Whenever this is going to be your application architecture. Let us assume that this is a e-commerce application. What would happen is this is the Node.js servers. This is the place where all of your business logic is. Okay. If you are thinking Java, this could be your Tomcat server, or this could be your JBoss. Right. So this is the place where you have all of your business logic. Right. So since the load can be more, I have created two servers. Since the load can be more, I've created two servers. If the load increases, I'll be increasing that number. Right. If number of customers increase, there are two now, that could become 20. Right. And then I have one NoSQL database, which is MongoDB. So you can replace that node with Tomcat and Mongo with MySQL in the other environments. Right. This is the most simplest architecture. Now, since we have two Node.js servers, okay, have you ever accessed Google like www.google1.com and google2.com? So for the users, you want to give a consistent URL. For that reason, what I have set is I have set up Nginx. Okay, Nginx is basically a web server which can also act as reverse proxy or load balancer. So I'm using this Nginx. So users will communicate with this Nginx URL. This internally will redirect to one of these servers. All right. And these business logic might speak to the database. Let it be the write operation or the read operation. Very simple architecture. Okay, fine. Now, this is the same architecture throughout. Dev, I have to give this. Production, I have to give this. Test, I have to give this. Pre-prod, I have to give this. All right. But whenever I give in the dev environments, my machines might not be as big as what they are in production environments. In production environments, I might be using a 16 to 32 GB RAM, but here I might be using 2 to 4 GB of RAM because it is dev environment. I'm okay with failures. Right. Testing my machines might be slightly different. So from environment to environment, what would happen is the strength of your machines increases. So dev, it's okay. Test is also okay. But when we go to the staging environment, in the staging environment, we would like to have the servers in the same way like what they are in the production server, because that is an environment which should match your production environments. So let us just write a configuration just for simplicity. Ideally, you will not be making stuff like this, but let us assume for simplicity. Okay, since we know laptops, I'm using this in the dev environments. Okay, I'd be taking a i3 processor. But generally in servers, we'll never speak of i3. We'll speak about server processors. i3, i5, and i7 are the conventions which we know. That's why I'm using here. In real time, never you will speak about these kind of processors, because you'll be speaking about the actual processors which are quad core, or the server processors are different. Here I'm writing about desktop processors. Okay, so you say i3 with 4 GB RAM. This is what your devs configuration is. Test i5 with 8 GB. Okay, prod or staging, both UAT environments. Then for that, i7 with. So what is changing from environment to environment in this case? The power of your system, the compute power of your system is changing, right? So the software, the architecture, will it change? No. All right. So rather than writing three different scripts for three different environments, I would be writing one script, okay, where the variable is i3, i5, and i7. So for the basic dev environments, I'll be passing i3 as a variable, saying that I want to create i3 machines. For the staging environments, I'd be passing i7 as a variable. So whatever is changing from environment to environment, we'll make a note of it and we will call it as a variable, because that is the changing part. Right? So this is the first thing. First thing is, you should basically lay out an architecture of your application and just see what are the different servers which you want and how do you want your deployment to be. So in this case, I'll be taking 4 i3 machines in dev environment. All right. So that's how it is. In the case of basically test, 4 i5 machines. In the case of prod, 4 i7 machines. Simple. All right. So that's the first requirement which you should come up with. Now, the next thing is, from environment to environment, there will be similarities and there will be some changes. So you should be able to make out what is the similarity and what is the difference. Anything that is changing from one environment to other environment should be your variable, should be user input, right? User will be providing that values while executing the script, right? So now this is the basic stuff. Now, for creating these machines, how do I write a script? How do I write a script? So you can use shell scripts. You can use shell or PowerShell script. Okay. Now let us assume my environment which I am using is Amazon Cloud. Okay. So I would write a shell script which will work with Amazon. Right. Tomorrow your company decides that it wants to go to the other environment, Azure. Will the same script be reusable? No. You need to make changes. Are they huge changes or small changes? Small. Seriously? Car engine మార్చేయమన్నట్టు ఉంటుంది. Almost change. The change is as good as changing the engine of the car, because your core logic is creating infra in the AWS, and infra in AWS creation is completely different from infra creation in Azure. Then, so from environment to environment, whenever you are creating this infrastructure, it becomes very difficult when the infra changes. Okay. So we need a tool which has the intelligence of that environment already, and there will be changes irrespective of whatever tool which you take, but it should not be major changes. Okay. It should be the changes with respect to your environment. For example, in one environment you might be using username and password, and suddenly if you go to the other environment, you might be asked to pass the other variables. You might be asked to pass something like secrets or keys or whatever it is. So those should be the kind of changes which you should be able to accommodate. All right. So, and whenever you want to write a script in AWS, you should be very good at that. Okay. And now if I go to the Azure, suddenly it is a new learning curve, because Azure scripts are completely different. Now if I go to Google Cloud, okay, suddenly your company says that we are not going to the cloud, let us use virtual machines itself. Then the whatever script which you have written will no longer be a useful stuff. So basically we are looking out at some tool which has intelligence of these stuff, and the way which we write a script is unique irrespective of what is the end environment which you are looking out for. So if I directly code for AWS, if I directly write a script for Azure, if I directly write a script for Google Cloud, the problem what would happen is I'm becoming very much specific, but I don't want to become specific. I want to become generic, because tomorrow there might be one other cloud that comes up which is better than all of these three clouds. Then what will we do? So we are looking out for a layer which is before this cloud environments, which helps you to speak with multiple different clouds like AWS, Azure, vSphere, VMware, whatever you know, you name it. Okay. And I should be able to write the script in this, not in this, because that is a huge learning curve for me. This is the whole idea. This is the whole idea of what we are going to learn about. All right. So in here, I would call it as wrapper as of now. I'll tell what the wrapper is. Okay. Wrapper is something which separates you from specific implementations. Wrapper is, in the dev world, we call it as, rather than writing a specific implementations, if you call something generic. All right. So for example, if I ask you to basically write a code in shell script, okay, that is specific. But if I give you a UI and you say that start service button is there, you have to just write a name of the service, and that UI works for Windows or Linux machines or Mac also. Okay. So this UI, whatever I have given you, what is it doing? It is wrapping the code specific implementations, and for you it is specific. It is very much generic, because you have UI, you have to write the name of the service, and you have to click on start, stop, and restart. Right. So we are trying to think of such a solution, and that's where an organization called as HashiCorp comes into play, and it tells that I have two tools. One I would call it as Packer. The other one I would call it as Terraform. Okay. I will have an intelligence of the different backends which you are looking at. Let it be AWS, let it be Azure, let it be virtual environments. But I don't have any idea of physical environments. I will work only on virtual environments. It will not work on any physical environment. So you use these tools to create whatever you are looking out for. All right. And now, whenever we are trying to write here, what is that we are trying to create over here? Our architecture. Okay. So this I would call it as infrastructure. Okay. And these tools allow you to write infrastructure as code. These tools allow you to write infrastructure as a code. That's it. So that's what these two tools are all about. But there is a slight difference. There is a slight difference. Packer will not give you machines. Packer will not give you machines. It will give you machine images. It will give you machine images. So the end result of the Packer could be it can give you a reusable image which you can use to create multiple environments. The end result of Terraform is it will give you working architecture, and both are important. Okay, and both are important. So if you want to deploy then and there itself, Terraform will come into play. But if you want to create something reusable so that you will deploy them later, then Packer will come into play. So Packer is used for creating reusable images, whereas Terraform is used to create working architecture, running, executing architecture. All right. So Packer is used to create machine images. Let it be virtual images or let it be cloud images. Okay. Fine. So let us make a note of them. Packer is for images and Terraform is for environments, or you can write executing environments which work directly. All right. Fine. So if I use Packer, what I would write is I would create an Nginx image, I would create a Node.js image, and I'd create a MongoDB image. That's it. I will get a result of three stuffs. But if I use Terraform, I will be creating virtual machines with IP addresses. And to the user, I'll provide an IP address. That's how I'd work on. That's the difference. Right? Okay, good. So using Packer and Terraform, I would be creating either reusable images or reusable environments. As simple as that. Okay. And as I said, from environment to environment, there might be some differences, and those differences you should be able to put it as, give it as inputs. When I tell that you are giving it as an input, I will call it as a variable or a parameter. Right? There are different tools which have a different naming conventions, but on a broader note, we will have basically something called as parameters, inputs, or variables. These are the three popular names which we give. So from environment to environment, whatever changes will become a parameter. Okay. Your basic architecture, what is required, will help you in creating either reusable image or reusable environment. Fine. Now, to do this, what is required? To do this, what is required? First thing which is required in any DevOps tool is you should know manually how to do this work, whatever that tool is doing. So Packer is creating what? It is creating a image. So you should know how to create an image first before you tell to Packer. Similarly, Terraform is creating an environment. You should know how to create an environment manually, at least, before you use these tools, because sometimes there might be issues not with the tool but with whatever you are trying to do. And if you don't know that whatever input possibilities which you have given is not a valid combination, the errors which Terraform or Packer might give you, you will not be able to make out. So for example, you are creating a virtual machine. You have a RAM of 4 GB and you are allocating a RAM of 16 GB to your virtual machine which you are creating in the same machine. So for the person who had tried it manually, it will give you an error saying that you can't give a RAM which is greater than your system's RAM. Okay. When you use a script, you might or might not get the same error. You might get something different also. Then you should be able to make out, okay, my system's RAM is 4 GB. In no case I cannot give you more than 4. It should always be less than 4. All right. So these are the things which are very important. Fine. Now what we will do is, let us try to create that Nginx machine. Okay. and install Nginx, and then basically create a image, okay, in the Azure, in the AWS. Okay, how do I do it? Then if I have to create the same in the virtual machine, how do I do it? Okay, I'll be listing out the steps and I'll be trying out one environment. Okay, so I'll be writing Nginx, and the same stuff goes for Node.js. You should know the installation steps, and you need to make a reusable image. Okay, so for that, the first environment which I'll be looking at is, first I'll start with a simple word, which is AWS, Amazon Cloud. Okay, so for the people who are new to the room, who have not given your mail IDs, please give your email IDs in the English, so that you will get a link on how to create accounts on Amazon. Okay, for the people who don't like this idea, you can also Google it. నా మెయిల్ ఐడి ఇవ్వటం ఇష్టం లేదు అనుకున్న వాళ్ళు అట్లీస్ట్ గూగుల్లో నెతికి అకౌంట్ క్రియేట్ చేసుకో. ఫైన్, వీ నీడ్ దిస్, అండ్ యూ విల్ గెట్ ఎ ఫ్రీ టైర్ అకౌంట్, అండ్ వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు యూస్ దట్. రైట్, సో ఐల్ బి క్రియేటింగ్ an AWS image for, this is my idea. All right, so I want, like, why do I want an image? Because whenever I want to create Nginx machine, I will not start from beginning. I will not be doing this installation steps again and again. Okay, so how many of you use play games in their laptops? No one. Okay, so for whatever game which you are playing, I say that, okay, create an image of whatever your laptop is. Tomorrow if you go to the new laptop, while you get in the laptop, if you insert that CD, after that CD's job is done, you will be getting your game in the same way like what it used to happen on the older machine. Is that a better way, or just take a new laptop and start installation and all of that again? So that's the whole point. So reusable image is exactly the same thing. Now there are some questions. Let us first understand what Packer does, and then we can worry about other tools. Okay, fine. So log in into Amazon. So for the people who are new, just type AWS console in Google. You will get a link. Okay, sign into this console. Okay, so this is your playground. Okay, so you have to create something called as a free tier account. Okay, and then you will be able to do this stuff. Okay, and create only free machines. That is more than enough for us. We don't require you to create heavy machines. There is only one machine that is free for you. That machine has a configuration of 1 GB of RAM and one virtual CPU. All right, that is more than enough for us. So services EC2 is compute in or a virtual machine in AWS. So I'm clicking on EC2. Okay, and I want to create a machine. Okay, so I'll be clicking on something called as launch instance. So then suddenly you see operating systems, right? You are seeing Red Hat, you are seeing SUSE, you are seeing all of this, right? Okay, now select this free tier whenever you are doing it. Select this free tier only. But let me discuss about what this is. You are seeing Ubuntu server, you are seeing Windows servers, right? Good. Let me go to the AWS marketplace. Everyone here knows what a SharePoint is? SharePoint is a software from Windows. Okay, but are you seeing some image which says that you can create SharePoint from here directly? So this is a reusable SharePoint image. Similarly, SAP అయితే అందరూ వినే ఉంటారుగా. Are you seeing SAP HANA here? Or many other SAP images? Okay, so what is this? This is a reusable image of SAP, which anyone can use it. and then I can create SAP environments. Okay. Similar to this, I want to create my Nginx. I want to create my Nginx, a reusable image which anyone can create. So that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. So generally, if you see over here, these are the images which I have created for my own purposes. So here you have many images. Yeah. So this is a reusable image, and whenever I want, basically, for example, if I want Nagios, one thing is I can take a Linux machine, install Nagios, or I can directly take that Nagios 4. Their Nagios is already installed, everything is working. Similarly, every software which you are seeing over there, it is a pre-configured image. Now, I want to create the same image in an automated fashion. That's why I'm learning Packer. All right. So, but let us go our conventional approach. Let me go back to quick start. Take an Ubuntu image, T2 micro. This is your free trial. 1 GB RAM and one virtual CPU. This is called as T2 micro, the name of that machine, which is free for you. So go with next. There is no need for you to worry about any other options. Just click next and you will see a launch button. This is the point where you need to do something extra. Okay. So generally for logging in into machines, you'll have usernames and passwords. But Amazon will give you username and keys. It doesn't allow you passwords by default. By default, you can change the behavior later. So you need to create a key. So just go over here and you will be seeing a option called as create a new key pair. Give some name here. So I'm calling this name as Packer. All right, and download this key. So this key will act as your password. If you don't have this key, you will not be able to log in into this machine. And remember, the problem is once you go out of this page, there is no way on earth to recreate the same key again. మీరు ఈ పేజ్ దాటేస్తే మళ్ళీ ఈ కీ జనరేట్ చేసే అవకాశం లేదు. సో play safe with those keys. Play safe with those keys. Okay. If you lost this key, the only way is you need to delete that machine. There is no other way of recovering it. All right. So I click on launch instance. So the machine is basically running it over there. So now I need to connect to this machine once it is in running state. If you are already on a Linux or Mac machine, you don't need any extra softwares. If you are already on a Linux machine or a Mac machine, you don't need any extra piece of software to connect to this Linux machine, because Linux uses a protocol called as secure shell to connect. Windows from 7 in PowerShell there is a secure shell prompt, but that doesn't work effectively. Okay, if you are on Windows 10, it's okay, you can still use PowerShell. But if you are on a before versions of Windows, which is 7, 8 or whatever it is, in that case we need an external software to connect to this. So there are two popular softwares or one popular software. The other one is which I like. Okay, the popular software which people generally tend to use is Putty. Okay, but I personally hate it. I am not going to even demonstrate it in the class. Okay, that is too much of UI, too much of mouse. I don't want to use that. So I want to use something called as Git Bash. Okay, it is like Linux like terminal on Windows. All right. So how do you install that software? The first software which we require for this purpose is Git Bash. So for the people who are on Linux, Mac, you don't need to install this. You already have a terminal with you. Okay, I am doing this on only on Windows machines because I don't have terminal. Right. So for this I will be doing two installations. The first installation which I'll be doing is I'll call it as Chocolatey. Oh. The next installation which I'll be doing is Git for. These are the two softwares which I'm going to install. Right. So let us proceed on how to do this, because we need to connect to our Linux machine to achieve any activity. So just Google for Chocolatey. you will be redirected to this page. And in here, once you scroll down, you will be seeing install Chocolatey now. Click over here. Okay. Scroll down. You will be seeing a script. Just click on copy. Just click on copy. Open command prompt as an administrator. Run as administrator. Command prompt as an administrator. Paste this stuff. Click on enter. Okay. It would take some time and you have Chocolatey in your system. That's it. Chocolatey is not download kind of a stuff. You have to do this. Right? Now, similarly, if I have to install Git for Windows, one way is I can Google for Git for Windows, and then I'll be directed to a site. From there, I'll download. I will double click, and then it will finish the installation. Okay, that is all nonsense from now. Let us try something else. Okay, let us use Chocolatey. Chocolatey is something which is a package manager for Windows, which helps us in installing softwares. So what I would do is I would just say Choco Git for Windows. Whatever software which you want to write, just search this. For example, you want to download Chrome browser, Choco Google Chrome. You want to download Firefox browser, Choco Mozilla Firefox. Start searching like this. Now what would happen is, are you seeing something like Choco install Git? Right? Once you have installed Chocolatey, create a new prompt. Don't go with the older prompt. Create a new prompt. And better you take PowerShell. And better you take PowerShell and always run as administrator because you are installing softwares. Right? Now, just execute Choco install Git. Click on enter and you will be getting everything, whatever you need. That's it. You don't need to download, you don't need to do anything. Right? Simple. Very simple way of looking at the installations. It is much like what Homebrew in Mac does, what apt in Ubuntu does, and yum in Red Hat does. It is a package manager for Windows. Right? So any software which you want, for example, let us assume that you want what is the other software which is useful. There is a software for Google Drive Sync or something like that. All right. So just execute Choco install Google Drive. That's it. There is no need for you to download softwares, install them, all of that nonsense, not required. Why? If you use the script, tomorrow if you want to prepare a machine, you have scripts to do it. But if you have to download, double click and all of that, who will do it? Scripts cannot double click. All right. For that, again, you need to go to UI based automation tools, which take hell lot of time and very difficult to automate because they will be position based. Okay. Not automatable areas. You will not have all of that stuff here. So we have installed Git and Chocolatey. Are we good? Both are not required if you are not Windows. If you are non-Windows platform, if you are using Mac or Linux already, you don't require it because even in the Mac you have terminal. In the Linux also we have a bash. Directly you can connect from there. Now let us connect to this Linux machine, shall we? So for this we need SSH protocol, right? And for getting SSH protocol we have installed something called as git bash already. Now click on connect. Are you seeing an example over here? Copy this completely, this line. Okay. Go to the folder wherever you have your key. Right click and you will be seeing an option called as git bash here. Okay. This is a terminal. You get a terminal and then insert this. You are inside Ubuntu machine. This is the cloud machine which we have created. Now we have to install Nginx in that. So the first command which I am going to execute over here is sudo apt-get update. This will update the packages on that machine. Okay. So for the people who are new to Linux, just make a note of the command saying apt-get update. Okay. Just make a note of that command because it might be new commands to you. Okay. But for the people who are already known to Linux, what you know what I'm trying to do. Right. So the next stuff is sudo apt-get install. Done. Okay, nginx is also installed. Now I want to access nginx, right? So whenever you want to access nginx in AWS, there is one more thing to know. What is that? Is AWS by default will not open all ports. It will open only 22 port. So you have to open a 80 port for communication. So scroll extremely left and you would be seeing an area called as security group. Click over here. And in here there is an inbound stuff. These are inbound rules. Click on edit. Just say add a rule. And I want to add a rule for HTTP. Click on save. This is, we are trying to open 80 port for everyone to communicate. If you don't use that rule, the 80 port will be closed. Even if you try to access nginx server, it will not respond because the traffic is not flowing into your server. It is being stopped before it reaches your server. So let me go to the instances section again. This is the IP address. Copy this. Are we seeing nginx? Yeah. So this is how do you install it. My problem is not how to install nginx. What was my problem statement? How to create a reusable image which will contain a nginx image, right? Which will consist of nginx. Okay. So till here manually doing it. Okay. This is not a very difficult job because you will take what are the installation steps and then you will basically execute it. I want to make this reusable. So what Amazon tells us to do is you can right click over here. You will see a section called as image and then click on create image and then give your details. It will take some time, and once you finish this operation, you try it at home. You follow the steps, and once you have finished this operation, you will be seeing a section called as images AMIs, and in here you will be seeing an image name called as nginx. And from there onwards, you can use that image to create any machines, any number of machines. That's the whole idea. Okay. So first we do the installation, and then we click on, we right click it and we say create image. All right. So this is a manual way. The problem is daily your application will have a new build. How many times will you do this manually? So if your company says that for every build that has been built, I need an image, then will you do it manually every time? You go into the Linux machine, create installation? No, right? So to automate these kind of operations where we need reusable images, we will be using something called as Packer. That's the need for Packer. Okay. Why we need images? Because we can reuse it at any point. నేను ఒక్కసారి nginx image create చేసి పెట్టేశాను. I have created one nginx image once. I can use it from there on throughout basically my next few years or months till the nginx version changes. Whenever I want nginx, I will not install nginx. I will take this image and I will work on what I have to do after I have nginx. That's the whole idea. So you are saving time on installations. That's what an imaging is all about. Similarly, in virtual machines also we need to create images. For example, you are asked to create virtual machines, so you need to create reusable virtual machines. So how do you do that? Again, there will be manual steps and you need an image. And how do you create it? Packer is an answer for that. So using Packer, we are going to create machine images. Let it be any virtual environment. Similarly, you can create Azure images, you can create Google Cloud images, you can create DigitalOcean images. You name it, you name any virtual environments, you will be able to do it. Fine. This is the first case. The next case is if your team is not interested in reusing the images, they tell that whenever I execute this script, I should get a URL and my team should be able to work on it. My team should be able to work on it. So that is exactly the manual step. So your Terraform will stop here. It will give this URL to your tester. It will not take any images. It will just install the necessary software. But every time it will install, remember this. Every time whenever it creates a machine, it will install. Okay. So there are many companies which combine these two. In Terraform, we use the images which are created from Packer. So Terraform gives you real environments. Packer gives you images. Now your end environments or the back end environments, there are many things to look about. And now one advantage of using Terraform and Packer is they are idempotent. They are idempotent. What is idempotency? So take a calculator, okay, and use 2 plus 2 operation. What will be the result? Do it 10,000 times. Will the result change? Try the same stuff for the shell script which you have written. Let us assume that you have written a shell script to install a software. I execute it for the first time, software will be installed. Can you guarantee that if I run it for the second time, software will also be installed? It will have some assumptions. This script should be executed on a machine where there is no software. Okay. So, but if I tell you that this is a script which I have given, this script, even if you run for the first time, if the software is not present, it will install. If the software is already present, it will not do anything. It has an intelligence about it. Now, if you have such script, safe script, if you run it for one time or thousands of times, will you have any impacting stuff? No. That is idempotency. You run it for one time or many times, the end result of that script is always the same. It doesn't change it. Okay. These scripts are idempotent. They are consistent. Okay. But if you try with shell scripts, can't we achieve this? You can. But the problem is they are not consistent. It depends on the intelligence of the person who writes it. Okay. And that is a very difficult thing. For example, if you give me a shell script to do something, and if I give it to someone and we both are writing the shell script, our end goal is same. We want to install Nginx, but his script might sound some completely different than my script. End result of both the scripts are exactly the same. So that's why scripting is not readable. So that's why you use these tools which are consistent. Okay, which are consistent, and they have their own way of expressing. So whenever you are speaking with Packer, you should speak in a format which Packer understands, and that is what we are going to learn. Similarly, whenever you are speaking with Terraform, Terraform will have separate syntaxes, and we should be speaking with Terraform in that syntaxes. These kind of specific stuff we call it as DSLs, domain specific languages. So our next journey is all about doing this. Fine, good. So do we have an idea of what we are trying to do now? We are trying to give dev environments, test environments, staging environment scripts, so that it becomes easy to create those environments. Okay, you write it once, reuse it many times. That's what our journey is all about. All right, good. Now there are complex combinations in this. So in Terraform, you can call shell script, you can call Ansible, you can call Chef, all of that. Okay, but I am not getting into those complexities. Okay, but one difference which I would tell: how is Terraform different from configuration management? How is Terraform different from Ansible or Chef? Ansible or Chef will work once your machine is there. Yes, to make Ansible or Chef work, you need some machine. Terraform is used to create those environments. So for example, if I want to install Ansible, I need a Linux machine, right? So using Terraform, I can create a Linux machine. So Terraform is used to create environments, and in that to install softwares, we use configuration management tools. That's a difference. Okay. So you might argue that using Ansible also I can create virtual machines. Yeah, there are some roles which will help you that. But Ansible tool is not made to create virtual machines. Ansible tool is made for configuration management. And what is the configuration management? Whatever infrastructure which your team needs for running an application. For example, I say that I have a website. My team is developing a website. So for making website work, what is that I need? I need a web server. And for making web server work, what is that I need? I need a Linux machine. So getting a Linux machine is Terraform's responsibility. On the Terraform machine, whatever software requirements are there, fulfilling that is configuration management tools responsibility. So there is a very thin layer. Okay, using Ansible, we can create some virtual machines because AWS supports shell scripting. But the problem is Ansible tool was not designed for that. Just because it is possible, we cannot compare the needs, right? So Terraform is used for creating infrastructure, and Ansible or Chef are used for configuring that infrastructure to suit to your needs. Okay, machine create చేయాలంటే Terraform వాడతాను. ఆ మెషిన్ లో సాఫ్ట్వేర్లు ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయాలంటే షెఫ్ కానీ Ansible కానీ షెల్ స్క్రిప్ట్ కానీ వాడతాను. To create the machines, I'll be using Terraform. For configuring that system, let it be writing a shell script or Ansible or Chef. That's a need. Okay, so once we create a machine in Terraform, then we will have these scripts work for us. That's the difference. Okay, so there was already a question with respect to how is Terraform different from Chef or Ansible. That's the actual difference. Okay, Chef is not meant for creating infrastructure. It is meant for configuring the infrastructure, and that is what it is good at, and that is what we use it for, right? So, and now what other need of one other use of Terraform is, I have said this in yesterday's Amazon demo around it and around here. So for example, I have a web server in Azure, database in Amazon cloud. So how can I write some scripting which works on both the places? Terraform is an answer. Otherwise you have to write AWS script for database and Azure script for your web server, which doesn't make sense. If you use Terraform, it is the same script which works on multi-cloud environment. Okay, and unfortunately multi-cloud environments are growing these days because people are not using one cloud completely. They are moving away from that and they are taking best of that cloud. So AWS is very good at, let us assume, databases. So my company might choose AWS only for database. If Google Cloud is doing wonderful in Hadoop, so they might use Google Cloud for that. So that's how they choose the stuff. They are not using one cloud because anyway it is pay as you go model. Anyway it is pay as you go model, and these deployments are increasing. Okay, so for all of these various reasons, we need a tool which has an intelligence of multiple cloud environments. And in here we have two responsibilities. One is creating the image, the other one is creating the environments. And for creating the images, we would be using Packer, and for creating the environments, you would be using Terraform. Are we clear on Packer or Terraform? At least don't worry about other tools. Packer is for images, Terraform is for executing environments. That's a difference, right? Okay, now let me look at questions now. Even if you have something, I'll be answering it, but let me finish this first, right? Okay, you have just joined the webinar. It has started around 7:16 or 7:17, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, what is the difference between Chef and Terraform and Packer? I think I've told you what is the difference, right? Can't we create environment using Chef? You can create environment if you have a machine. You can create an environment if you have a machine. Creating the AWS machine is not Chef's responsibility, it is Terraform's responsibility. Once you have a AWS machine, okay, then configuring software in that, it can be done by Chef or Ansible. That's the difference, right? What does Nginx do? Exactly, Nginx is basically a web server. Okay, it can be used to host websites. That's what it is. Okay, both Packer and Terraform are used for virtual environments only. Yes, absolutely, they cannot be used for physical stuff, right? Shall we take it out? What are the images created in AWS? No, you cannot. You can just use it in Amazon. It cannot be used in any other purpose. Okay, that is Amazon's proprietary format and you cannot download it onto your disk. Not possible. I guess we have already installed this, right? I'm not sure with which constraint. Okay, you have already installed, but there are many people who have not installed this, so that's why I have to reiterate some instructions every 2 weeks. Okay, chocolatey, some of you people might already know, but there are many who don't know also. So there are some instructions which might reiterate. Docker can also be used to create Nginx. Was I speaking about Docker? I was speaking about a Linux machine. If I said container, then speak about Docker, right? My context, what was my environment? I said that I want a Linux machine with Nginx installed. Okay, I didn't say that I wanted an Nginx. Okay, so that's why. So I'm not speaking about Dockers in this moment. Is Nginx similar to Apache or JBoss? It is similar to Apache. JBoss is an application server, right? What is the difference between Docker images and Terraform images? Uh, it is the difference between two different things, man. They are not same. I don't want to compare, bring in Docker right now, but they are two different things. Okay, they don't have anything in common, right? Okay. So in real time, do the company will use both Chef and Terraform for creating environments? Yes, they are using it because Terraform eliminates the need for Chef servers. Chef server is a costly affair. If you are using Terraform with Chef, you don't need Chef server. Okay, fine. Any other stuff in the, any other doubts in the classroom? Any other questions which you have? Yes. So for example, you are using Nginx, and then you say that in the script you update saying that I want one more folder. That can be done. Hmm. Whatever it is possible. But whether it requires downtime or uptime is the approach which you follow. Yeah. Hmm. Install not images. Install, configure your software. Okay. Configure your software. For example, for running my application, for running web server, I need Apache. So installing Apache on the machine which was created by Terraform is either shell scripts or Ansible's or Chef's responsibility. You can choose whatever you want. Yeah. Which Docker. Yeah, Choco is allowed in enterprise. Yeah, Choco has two variants to it. One is the free version which we are using right now. That there is no harm. Okay, but there is a Choco paid version also, which can give you your own basically server for Chocolatey. That is much more secure. You can use Choco in your offices also, but one thing is using Choco, if you install a software which is not allowed in your office, that's a crime. So for example, in your office, if you are not allowed to install VLC media player and you install Choco, install VLC media player, that could be a crime. But if you use Choco to download or install software, whatever is allowed, that is fine. That's what I'm doing in my office. You can use it. You can use it. You can use it in Windows servers also. Yeah. That's what. I don't want to provide all the definitions of the tools. So today my introduction was only about two tools, Packer and Terraform. But are we good at that? Did we understood why we use? How to use that? That is the next 9 days. Let us worry about it. ఎందుకు వాడతాం ప్యాకర్, ఎందుకు వాడతాం టెరాఫామ్, ఎందుకు వాడతాం, ఇవాళ వచ్చిన వాళ్ళకి అర్థమైందా? రైట్. ఎస్. కొంతమంది అనుమానంగా వేసి చెప్తున్నారు, చెప్పకపోతే మళ్ళీ రెండోసారి ఫీజు కట్టించుకుంటారేమో. Yeah, that's it. So that was my objective of the class, because if I tell what is the purpose of every tool on the day one, right, you will forget the context for what is happening in the next 2 weeks. So let me define closer to when we use it, right? Okay, fine. Now, yes, 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 yes. No, you cannot, because that is Amazon's proprietary format and Amazon has decided not to give it. Packer has, or we have no way to basically do whatever. If we uninstall manually and we try to reinstall, but it is not installing through Chocolatey, I'm not. It is like an inception question. I didn't got what you're trying to say. If you uninstall manually and then we try to reinstall, but it's not installing through Choco, can you just elaborate your statement and then write it on the Devops issues? I think Prabhakar, you are already being following the classes, right? So please do that. Okay. So for the new people, today I'll tell one last thing and I'll wind up the class. Okay. So for the people who are in the online and who want to get some stuff, okay, help from the stuff, you will be getting a mail where you will be given a link, okay, with the documentation of how to create a problem. For example, if you have a screenshot saying that I was trying to install something and it has failed, just write a question there, okay, and post it. It is a public site, anyone can post a question on that. The only thing which we will verify is whether he is a quality thought student or not. If he is not a quality thought student, we will close the issue then and there itself, because we are not interested. చాలా పనులు ఉన్నాయి, అందరి సందేహాలు తీర్చేంత ఖాళీ లేదు. Okay, So if he's our student by chance, we will try to resolve his issue, help him, and other students also will participate. That's the whole idea around it. Okay, you will get a link, and even for the people in the classroom, if I'm not wrong, it is github.com/qt-devops/devops issues. That's a link which you will get. Okay, and in that you can create issues. Your issues might be resolved there, and slowly start participating there, because you will also know how to solve issues of others. That's the whole idea. Previously it was completely in mails. I have put it over there because people who know can answer. That's the whole idea, right? Okay, fine. Any other doubts in the classroom? Okay, now about anything in DevOps, not on Packer or Terraform, about any other things which you want to know. Docs will be sent to everyone, man. Don't worry, they'll be sent to everyone whoever has been part of this class. And for the people in the classroom, whoever has written your email IDs in English, you will receive the mail. If you have signatured the English, like signatured your email ID like a doctor signature, then we can't help it, right? Okay, so I don't want any other things to be discussed to complicate. For a few days, let us have a simplest stuff. Let us learn it in a smaller and better way. Yeah, pardon me. The technical questions are raised చేస్తున్నారు. That is for online people. Yes, yes, yes. In Vagrant Ubuntu installed Nginx, how to open the browser? What is the IP address of the virtual machine which you have used? Use the IP address of your virtual machine. HTTP colon. Let us assume your IP address is IP address is 192.168.33.10. Just use that stuff. If you have not given IP addresses, use port forwarding. Okay. For the people who are finding it like Greek and Latin, leave it here. We have not covered that yet. Okay. This is for the people for whom it is already covered. Okay. Use that stuff. Okay. Shall we stop here? ఇంకేమైనా మాట్లాడుకుందామా? As I'm okay. I'm okay with anything. If you want me to speak about something, I'm good at. But I don't want to speak anything technical. Okay. First day, right? Let us leave. Slowly we will expand on. Okay. Fine. What are the next modules to be covered? Packer, Terraform, Nagios, and Elastic Stack. This is for these 2 weeks. And post that Docker, Kubernetes. And after that Ansible. And after that Chef. And after that CI. That's what the DevOps flow is all about. Yeah. Yes, Elastic Stack is now it is ELBK to be very specific. Yeah, it is not ELK anymore. It is ELBK. So that's why they are calling it as Elastic Stack, because we can't pronounce ELBK, right? Yeah. Beats. Elasticsearch, Logstash, Beats, and Kibana. It will be shared post 10 o'clock, I think. Once these guys have done up with my cloud as well as these classes, then the links will be shared to you guys. Right. Yeah. Okay then. So I'm stopping it at this point, and let us meet tomorrow. And tomorrow, let us try to do something in Packer. Install Packer, and let us try to whatever machine which you have created. You remember those steps, right? I've written two scripts, two simple scripts: sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get install nginx. Tomorrow also I'll be using the same things, but I will be using it via Packer tomorrow. Okay, so whatever we used to get manually, we will be getting it from Packer. So that's what our tomorrow's job would be: creating a Amazon image using Packer to install nginx. All right, so that is what I'm going to do in tomorrow's class. Fine. Okay, thanks. Can we use Vagrant tool to create AMI and environment? Yeah, you can install Packer there. I'll be discussing about that tomorrow, so don't worry about it. Yeah, go ahead. Is last question your question? Yeah. Okay. Do we need to know CLI for writing scripts in Packer? Not really. You need to know at least those commands. For installing Nginx, you need to know only these two commands: sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get install Nginx. If you are installing something else, you should know that commands. Right? That's it. Yes. కావాలా అసైన్మెంట్ లో చెప్పాను ఆల్రెడీ. యూ హావ్ టు క్రియేట్ అన్ AMI ఫర్ Nginx. Amazon AMI for Nginx. నో, నో డాక్యుమెంట్స్. గూగుల్ క్లాస్లో ఏం చేశాను నేను అంటే, నేను డాక్యుమెంట్ ఇచ్చేస్తే మీరు అవి చూసి కొట్టేస్తే ఇంకేముంది అందులో. ఓకే దెన్, థ్యాంక్స్ ఫర్ టైం.